Fun times in Cleveland again.
Still Cleveland.
Come on down to Cleveland town, everyone. Under construction since 1868. See our river that catches on fire. It's so polluted that all our fish have AIDS. We see the sun almost 3 times a year. This guy has at least 2 DUIs. The flats look like a Scooby-Doo ghost town. Don't slow down in East Cleveland or you'll die. Our economy's based on LeBron James. Buy a house for the price of a VCR. Our main export is crippling depression. We're so retarded that we think this is art. It could be worse though, at least we're not Detroit. We're not Detroit.
We are not Detroit. We are the Friends of Fantasy Benefits Baseball Podcast. I'm Justin Mason. That is Dave McDonald. How you doing, my buddy?
I'm good, brother. Having a really good day today on the offensive side of things. So just really hoping this is the start of a strong final 2 weeks. This is usually where I'm making my run and cementing myself into winning and cashing in most of my leagues. How are you looking?
I'm looking all right. Did you see the tweet that Phil Dussault tweeted out earlier today?
Yeah, well,
screenshot.
None of us are Phil good. I mean, we're not as good as Phil, but
I was like, if I took a screenshot of my NFBC leagues, I would like represent the average of NFBC. Like I've got like first place leagues, I've got 12th and 13th place leagues, I've got a lot of 6th and 7th place leagues. Like I am like the average as opposed to Phil being like the cream of the crop.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, you shouldn't really hold yourself to the Phil standard. As he even said so himself, this will probably be the only year he has this kind of insane year. But, with his system, the way he does things, he's going to be on a lot of the same players. And I've seen this with other guys too, not to this level. But if you hit on your guys and you have those guys on all your teams, obviously you're going to have a great year all around. And that's what Phil's doing. Still insane, though. And, I mean, very happy for him. Love Phil, and, it's pretty awesome to be where he is right now.
When you have an opportunity to take down 3 overall titles in a season, that is insane, and absolutely insane. We're going to jump right into it because I have kind of a hard out tonight. I've got a meeting here in a little bit over an hour, so we can't go super late tonight. So let's start with the news. Shane Baz, first start tonight. Went 5 strong innings. Any thoughts? Did you watch this start?
I watched some of it. I started him in a Yahoo league where I need innings. I knew that it was against Toronto. I don't know. Sometimes, man, you got to go for it. And I felt pretty good given how strong his stuff was. And the fact, honestly, it's the fact that it's the Rays. I trust them so much when it comes to pitching. Like, they just put their pitchers in very good situations. You rarely see Rays pitchers getting blown up. And they, they'll get him out if they're struggling or whatever. But definitely paid off. He got the win too. He went 5 innings, had 5 Ks. The stuff is very strong. He's someone to keep an eye on for next year for sure. And actually in the last week, if you can, still get him. And if you're in daily leagues where you can pick him up, go grab him.
Yeah, I tried to pick him up in the spots where he was eligible picked up in my leagues, and it was a no-go for me. Yeah, he was already gone in those formats, or I didn't have enough fab left to put on him in those spots as well. So I have not seen any of the start yet. I will be sitting down tonight after my meeting and watching every pitch and stuff because I'm super excited. I got to see him at first pitch. Arizona a couple years ago. You're going to be at first pitch Arizona. I'm going to be at first pitch Arizona here in a few weeks. I cannot wait. It's going to be a blast. If you've ever thought about going to first pitch, this is the year to do it. There are going to be a lot of really, really fun people there, including Dave and myself. My wife is coming along. People like Eric Cross and George Montanez, Michael Simeone, Bubba, Michael Govier, I believe Toby is going. Paul Spohr, Jason Collette, Eno Saris. Actually, I think Nick Pollock's going.
A lot of first timers too. I was gonna say. I mean, this is gonna be my first time. I know you've been before, but a lot of people, like, we've all kind of been talking over the last year and a half or so, and now we're all finally gonna actually get to meet in person, like you and me. So definitely looking forward to it. Really excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be a blast. If you've never been, like, don't get me wrong, the baseball games are great. You get to see some some of the top prospects in all of baseball. It's kind of like a finishing school for prospects. Those are great, right? The panels, those are great as well, right? I learned a lot from the NFBC panel I was at in 2019. It really I think, made me a better player. That being said, it's all about the hangout time, right? It's all about, like, Rob Silver's going to be there. I got to sit down with Rob Silver and Matt Modica, smoke cigarettes around a fire, and just talk fantasy baseball and NFBC. And it's invaluable, just the hangout time, and it is a lot of fun. Play a lot of poker, so if you like poker, definitely bring your money to lose to me. But yeah, it's
Are you still not smoking?
I'm still not smoking.
Oh, that's great, man. How long has it been now?
It's been about 90 days, I want to say.
Okay.
It's pretty close. I can double check. I've got a little app on my phone.
Congratulations. That's a huge accomplishment.
90 days today.
Oh, wow. So, well, hey, here's your 90-day chip.
Thanks. Thank you.
Well done, buddy. I'm glad you're not going to die in the next 10 years of lung cancer.
That's the hope.
Now the question is that going to be difficult for you to be around with all those other people smoking?
No. My wife still smokes. My brother-in-law, who lives with us, smokes. I don't mind. I mean, I bartended the first 2 years of my sobriety from alcohol. Like, being around it isn't as big of an issue as just my own personal, addiction stuff. So,
well, that's great.
Yeah. Matt Williams in the house. Early show, fellas.
Hey.
We decided to do it a little bit earlier so Dave could actually get 2 hours of sleep before work this time. Also, Brock,
is Matt coming to Arizona Fall League?
I don't believe so. I think he's going to go to First Pitch Florida. Yeah, Matt said that I don't think he likes flying, so I don't know that he wants to come across country. He should be. He should be coming. It's going to be so much fun. The hotel that everybody is staying at and all the events and stuff are at is like within walking distance to one of the stadiums, I believe. It's going to be a blast. If you've never been, I think this is the year to go. You can still register. Go to baseball. I think it's baseballhq.com and register through them. It's just so much fun. Totally worth doing.
It's weird to say, but I'm not even, like you mentioned, the hangouts. That's literally what I'm going for. I didn't even look at what I'm getting in the package. Like, I know that there's something about going to games and watching panels. I'm not really going for that. I'm more just going to meet people and hang out and talk, and I'm more of the informal side that I'm looking forward to. Yeah,
that part, it's so much fun and so invaluable. Really, I mean, I honestly learned a lot just like sitting down and bullshitting with people.
That's where you get it from, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Or even like just sitting down and watching games with certain people, watching how other people watch games, watching how people like Nick Pollock and Saris watch games, and I mean, it's one thing to like watch someone or listen to someone on a podcast or watch someone on video break down something. It's another thing to be sitting next to them in a stadium and watching how they're looking at things, and so you're really going to learn a lot if you go. So I do highly recommend people go if they can. If you can't make it, maybe you can make it in a future year, but it's something that's worth going to, especially if you're in the industry. If you're in the industry, you should try to make it there. All right, let's continue on with the news. Tucker and Avisel Garcia, Kyle Tucker and Avisel Garcia, they avoid the IL. They're in the lineups tonight. Any concerns with them the rest of the way?
I don't think so. I mean, Avisel kind of always has little ticky-tack things, especially back injuries, kind of never really go away. So, he might miss another game or two. They sit him every once in a while anyways, but his bat is so good that you got to just leave him in anytime he has, 3 or 4 games and a half of a week, or, 6+ games in a full week where you have weekly changes. You got to just roll with him this time of the year. I was just really thankful that he was back, because I have Avi in a lot of leagues this year.
So, I mean, Garcia's a guy who's always kind of banged up, but seems to get back the value you put in your draft spot on him every year as well. So, it's glad to see him back in the lineup. Tucker is an interesting one, because Tucker, I think he's fine rest of the way. I'm not worried about him, but I'm interested to hear your thoughts on next year, because I am involved right now in a mock draft that our friend Matt Williams putting together, and I got Kyle. Yeah. I got Kyle Tucker in the second round.
Okay.
The 7th pick of the second round. This is a 12-team league, so this is 19th overall. What do you think about that? Because I think he's going to be a first rounder.
Ah, shit. I'm sorry. Matt just informed me that it's not picking up my microphone. So is there a way for me to change my microphone? Let's see here. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, no, I hear you just fine.
All right, Matt, if you're listening, let me know.
Now I can't hear you. I can't hear you at all. So hopefully.
How about now? Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you a lot louder. So
it's louder now?
Yeah, that'll work. Okay, so Kyle Tucker, I got him pick 19. I think he's going to be a top 15 pick coming into drafts in February, March. What are your thoughts on Kyle Tucker kind of coming into drafts next year?
Yeah, I mean, assuming that this, what is this, shoulder that he hurt or something, I believe, as long as I don't think this is anything to be worried about. I like him a lot. I think he's a guy who took a big step forward this year that I was expecting once he got full playing time finally. I think the second round is, as long as you're building the team correctly around him, which honestly with 5 category guys like that, it's pretty easy to do. So yeah, I'm looking to stock up on as many of those types of players in the first couple rounds as possible, honestly. So I like it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, Tucker is one of those guys. Like, I don't think people realize like how unlucky of a first half he had. Like he had like one of the unluckiest first halves in baseball. I want to say like he hit like 2. Let's see, he in the first half of this year, or the first month this year, hit 181. In the second half so far this year, he has hit 343 with 11 home runs and 6 stolen bases.
Wow. Yeah.
Like, he's been on fire. Kind of gotten some of that luck back after being unlucky to start the season. So I'm extremely excited about Kyle Tucker. If I get him in the second round of any draft next year, I'm gonna be stoked. My team so far. Let's see. I took Ohtani at pick 6, then Kyle Tucker in the second round. Then I went Marcus Semien in the 3rd, Liam Hendricks in the 4th, Mondesi in the 5th, Kimbrel in the 6th, and I just took my first starting pitcher in the 7th round with Trevor Rogers.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, and hopefully Trevor Rogers can get back to being what he was before he had the time off today this year, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, because Rogers has legit ace stuff. I feel like Kyle Tucker is exactly the type of guy who ends up in the first round in NFBC main events. Usually those 5 category guys are all like at the latest, like early second round. You sometimes get some guys who slip like Starling Marte because he doesn't have the power or he doesn't, he's a little older, so people were concerned about him maintaining his speed. But for Tucker, this guy's still on the rise, and he's got legit power and he runs plenty to provide that kind of that speed that you need early on in the draft.
Well, and you kind of assume that with the writing on the wall that Carlos Correa will not be returning next year, that he'll bat higher up in the lineup, that he could probably bat 3rd or 4th in this lineup next year, which will still be really, really good.
Yeah, and if Austin Riley's taught us anything, it's that you need to discount guys a little bit if they start lower. Like I think he started the season hitting 7th. But I mean, he's been hitting, I think 4th now or 3rd or 4th for, months. So, if you have that production, you're going to be able to move up in the lineup anyways. But yeah, I expect even though Tucker spent most of the season hitting 6th, he should be hitting like 4th, maybe 5th at worst next year.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep it moving along. Sal Perez sets the catcher home run record with his 46th home run. Sal Perez went in the second round of this mock draft. This is a 12-teamer. He went in the second round.
Wow.
I'm going to have 0 shares of Sal Perez next year. Like, I'm not going to pay the price.
I had all the shares this year, and it's been amazing. I thought he was incredibly undervalued. He was a catcher who, in 2 catcher leagues, a guy who plays every day. And, I mean, yes, I was not expecting this many home runs, but I was expecting, over 30. So, like, he was a legit bat who plays every day at a premium position. Like, that's exactly what you want. Having said that, this is exactly the type of guy you avoid for the next year, because now you have to pay the price where he has to give you basically what he did this year in order to provide value. And so I won't have any, because that's not a plus EV play. You need to find the next Sal Perez. You can't just try to buy last year's Sal Perez.
Should he be ranked as the number 1 catcher heading into next year?
I mean, I'd have to look at playing time, but I think it's just him and Real Muto, right? Who actually play that much, who play every day and are actually
I don't even know that Real Muto does as much anymore. I'd have to really look at Real Muto's playing time. I assume we would project Real Muto to play that much because we assume the National League will have the DH next season.
Oh, that's true. I was going to say that was the other reason that I liked Perez more this year than Real Muto, is because of the AL has the DH where he can play every day. But yeah, you're right. If they do have that in the NL, then I guess that does maintain his value. But yeah, it's just Real Muto and Perez. I think he should be the first catcher off the board. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's fair. I haven't done my catcher ranks yet for next year. I just been doing my starting pitcher ranks so far, which are available on the Sleeper and Butts Patreon if you want them. Yeah, so far I haven't gotten my catcher ranks, but that's going to be a tough one. I'm not going to end up with either of them, so I don't really care that much. But
I mean, so I just looked. Sal Perez has 614 plate appearances. Real Muto has 492. I mean, yeah. I know Real Muto missed time, but I mean, yeah, there's nobody else at this point who's even close, unless Will Smith becomes interesting though with the DH. I will say that. I think Will Smith will be my next year's Salvador Perez, where he's the guy who can, when he's getting everyday play, when they have a DH, they're going to be playing him in that slot a lot, and he will absolutely be able to provide that type of value. Not saying he'll be Salvador Perez this year, but he'll be I think he'll be a good value next year.
Write that one down. Dave McDonald says that Will Smith is going to hit 46 home runs. Carlos Rodon, he's getting shut back down again with arm soreness. This ends his season, right? I mean, we're not expecting anything more. Yeah,
I would think so. I mean, this was and this is what I told people who were doing the second chance leagues. I'm like, not the second chance leagues, who did the early drafts for next year. I said, don't overvalue Rodon. He's coming off of no innings pitched the last 2 years, and then he throws how many innings this year? And I mean, it's just this was something you could kind of see coming. You knew that, especially with his history, he was going to have issues at some point. I'm kind of surprised. He's at 125 innings. I'm kind of surprised. Plus today, I'm surprised that they pushed him this far, because he had 42 innings pitched over the last 2 years. I mean, I don't know. For a team going into the playoffs, you'd think that they would know that they need him. So I don't know. I think they kind of messed that up.
I mean, I get what you're saying. At the same time, what did they expect to get from him this year? Nothing. Everything they got was like added icing on a really, really nice cake. And you just ride that kind of guy until the wheels fall off. And unfortunately, they were hoping the wheels wouldn't fall off until after the playoffs, or But
yeah,
everything has been gravy. They've gotten so much value, and he's a free agent. They're not tied to him after this season. So I totally see why they did it this way. I think they would have, had they known he was going to be this good this deep into the season, I think they probably would have backed off some of the earlier starts. But they didn't know what they were getting. This has all been a surprise.
No, I don't think early on it was an issue, but maybe once they got to around 100 pitches, they should have, given him, either skipped some starts or something, given him some time off, make sure he was okay for the playoffs. Now, I don't know, because their rotation, they've still got Lynn and Cease, but, I don't know. I feel like this is a pretty substantial loss for them going to the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, it is a bummer. I mean, hopefully, he will be okay. I don't. They haven't said that they're going to shut him down yet. So I think he's just probably going to miss his next start. So we'll see.
He'll probably be a guy I avoid next year in drafts, though. I just think that there's he's not a guy. I think he's going to go higher than I'm willing to for his risk profile. I mean, if I can get him, I don't know. I don't have a round off the top of my head, but somewhere in like the 7th to 8th round area, he might be okay. But I have a feeling he's going to go like 3rd, 4th round, something like that, depending on how serious this arm injury is, of course.
I'm trying to find him. He went lower than I thought he would. Oh yeah, he went in the 7th round of the 12-teamer.
All right.
So,
well, and that's a 12-teamer too. So yeah.
Right at the beginning of the 7th round. So you're talking what? 6 times 12 is bad at math. 60 or 72. So you went 73rd overall.
Yeah. Okay. So I think you'd probably be closer to pick like 100-ish for me personally, but yeah, I mean that's not terrible. I just think there's probably gonna be too much risk there for me. I think I'm just rather take my shots elsewhere.
Yeah, depending. I mean, I don't know if you saw my tweet about me doing my ranks the other night, but pitching is extremely deep. It is extremely deep when you start putting together your ranks of starting pitchers. And so one of the reasons why, I did not take a starting pitcher until the 7th round of this draft was because I wanted to see what I could put together in terms of kind of the beginning of a starting rotation. I don't think we're only doing 10 rounds, so we'll get to see how it like fleshes out. But if you're going to do something like that, your first couple starting pitchers cannot be a guy with that kind of injury risk heading into the season. So
exactly, it's a lot has to do with your team, your roster construction. Like if you're starting out with 3 starters before him and he's your SP4, then that's fine if that's the route that you're trying to go. But yeah, he cannot be your ace or even your number 2 in my opinion, probably next year.
In this mock, Zach Waxman has Garrett Cole, Freddie Peralta. Carlos Rodon is his number 3 starting pitcher. He also has a closer in Edwin Diaz.
Yeah, okay.
So he's already got like the beginnings of a really strong rotation, and then Carlos Rodon is his number 3. So like I don't mind that at all.
So it makes some more sense. I probably still wouldn't take him, but I totally get it, and it's not it's not bad.
Yeah. Moving right along, Wander Franco likely back this Friday. That's good news. You put him back in your lineup on Friday, right? Nothing really else to talk about.
Yep. I don't have any, but good for people who own him. It'll be good to get him back.
Franco went in the 4th round of this mock draft,
which
I was a little surprised he went that low.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not going to take him even in the 4th round. I passed on him in the 4th round, I passed on him in the 3rd. He didn't make it to me in the 4th. I would not have taken him though. But I bet you there will be people who are taking him in the 2nd or 3rd round next year.
I think the 3rd round I can see. I think I would be pretty shocked if he went in the 2nd. There's so much talent going in the first 2 rounds. It's tough to see that.
Not that it was wrong, because apparently it was right, but we saw people pulling the trigger on Vlad in the 2nd round.
Sure. Are you talking about this year though?
Yeah, coming into this year, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like Vlad had a lot more raw power than Wander does, though. I really feel like Wander doesn't quite have the dimensions that Vlad has.
I mean, obviously in the power department, I don't think I actually his power's been a little bit more surprising, on a good sense than I thought it was going to be. Honestly, that being said, it's just about prospect pedigree. And people have been waiting on this. There will be people who make those picks just because they want to. They want to make sure they get their guy.
When Vlad came up, he was hitting 119 exit velo. Wander Franco is like 109. So I mean, it's just I just think that he's not really in that same realm of ability of to hit homers. And he doesn't run that much. Like he runs some. He could probably steal 15 bags in a full season, but I don't know, probably closer to 10. Other than average, I don't know what you're really getting there. I guess.
I think you're getting a DJ LeMahieu-esque type player.
Okay.
Without the multi-positional eligibility and without the big power bump we saw from LeMahieu a few years ago. So
right, and also playing for the Rays, like I hate them so much. I don't want to draft.
They're gonna play him every day. Like he's not one of the guys that falls into this platoon or hitting the bench. He'll be like Willie Adames was with them. Like Willie Adames played every day at shortstop.
Well,
Wander Franco will too.
I will say I heard that exact same argument from people who took like me, who took Randy Rosarena, and other people like who took Brandon Lau, and they both end up sitting a fair amount. So I don't know.
Yeah, but they've also still returned value where you drafted them.
I don't know.
They weren't bad picks.
Not bad picks. I don't know that they've returned value though. I would have to look into that. I like Rosarena. I'm not unhappy about it.
They have not returned surplus value. I'm pretty sure they have returned, fair value.
It's not that they've been bad. I don't think that there's enough. That's not the kind of picks I want to be. I want to be making those picks that if I'm picking someone in the second or third round, I want them to be like guys that I can see easily being in the first round, which I did with Rosarena, but not with this playing time. He needs to play every day.
Yeah, what you were hoping to get was a Kyle Tucker type season, not a Randy Rosarena type season.
Yeah,
I get that for sure. All right, Tyler Stevenson placed on the IL right close to lineup lock, which sucked for me because I was driving back from the Oakland Zoo with my kids, which meant I could not replace him in my leagues that I had replacement opportunities. So that's just a huge fucking bummer for me. I mean, any worries? I mean, you've got to drop him at this point, right? He hits the IL.
I mean, yeah, I guess if he's got COVID, I think he's done. I don't own him anywhere, so I guess that's a decision you'll have to make. But I think we'll probably have a good idea by it's only Monday, so by Sunday, I'm sure you'll know what's going on with him. But I tweeted that out today, right before lineup lock, for everybody who follows me. So hopefully, and some people are like, "Oh, thank God, I had time to get him out of my lineups and everything." And then before that, I actually tweeted about Yanni Hernandez because I don't think people realize that they faced 5 lefties this week and that he sits versus lefties, and they played Charlie Culberson at third. And there's a lot of people thanking for putting that out because that allowed them to get him out in time also. So, I try to help people out where I can, just because I know it sucks when news comes out right before the lineup lock and you just end up getting screwed.
Yeah, and I'm a huge Stevenson guy. Stevenson's gonna be another guy
I remember that
on.
Yeah,
he's been great this year. He's hitting like 280, 9 home runs at catcher. He's not playing every day. He's splitting the shares with Tucker Barnhart. But Barnhart has a team option in 2022, and if they don't exercise that option, Stevenson's going to be in for a bigger role. Not to mention DH coming to the National League most likely next year too. We could see Stevenson get a larger role with that. So I really like Stevenson as like a cheap catcher that could really outproduce where he's going to be drafted next year.
How about a Will Smith, Tyler Stevenson combo at catcher and 15 teamers?
I'd love it. I'd absolutely love it. I would do that.
So much at bat upside at catcher, and both are young and very skilled and getting better. So I like it a lot.
Finding the catchers in the National League that will get added plate appearances next season is going to be huge. Guys like Stevenson, guys like Will Smith, guys like Dalton Varsho, guys like Travis d'Arnaud, like the guys that will slide into the DH on their days off from catcher. Even
Yachty if he's still playing.
Yeah, Austin Nola could be another one too.
That's a big one.
So
I can see getting some DH ops.
Yeah, so those are going to be the guys that I'm targeting. You're going to see me target a lot of those guys in the 2 catcher formats next year.
That's where the value is going to be.
All right, we have some corrections to make, or I don't know that we should call them corrections. I think we should call this like our apology tour for the week. Pozo was demoted. You want to apologize for that one?
Yeah, I do. Mostly to myself because I picked him up, but to anybody else who picked him up, Yeah, it looked like he was going to be, their everyday DH, and then here comes Willie Calhoun with 2 weeks left, finally coming back from being what has he hit since May, April? I don't even know when he went down, but I mean, Jesus Christ, totally forgot about him. Didn't see anything about him coming back, and so yeah, definitely missed on that one. So Tony and I had to use 2 different fab pickups because we dropped someone for Pozo and then had to pick someone back up the next week, so that sucked. And then another guy that I gave you guys, Sean Nolan, who I know you were saying about you were excited to pick up. Of course, then when he came back, they decided to just throw him in the pen because
that was super fucking annoying.
Yeah, because Josh Rogers was sticking in the rotation instead. Again, something I didn't think about that they could do that. I mean, it wasn't like Nolan was out that long, so it's kind of surprising that he had his role usurped that quickly. But he wasn't good results-wise, so I guess I can see why they felt it was the right move to do. At least he gave you 3 scoreless innings, though, so it wasn't a complete loss. Unlike Tyler McGill, who was just awful. He just from the beginning of his outing, he just looked totally lost. He couldn't find the strike zone whatsoever. This is a guy who has really good control, actually, so it was just very uncharacteristic of him. I don't know if it was, just being a rookie or, just rookie inconsistencies, or he for whatever reason, he was just hyped up that day and just couldn't find any of his pitches. It was real difficult to watch.
Yeah, it's just a bummer. Another shout out, J Hook. Going back to our catcher conversation, Keibert Ruiz. He's going to be another guy to be that people may kind of forget about a little bit because he struggled so far in his major league reemergence. So.
And you're going to want to remember his name before next year, too, because next week, in fact, he goes to Coors. So I would very much stress, if you're picking up guys for Fantrax for next week already or, daily leagues even, go ahead and pick up Ruiz. He's hitting the ball well right now. I think he had 3 or 4 RBI tonight. He's a guy who's, I agree with J Hook. He's going to be another guy I'm interested in next year.
Nice. All right, let's move on into some closer stuff. I'm just going to throw you the situation. You tell me who you think's closing. Let's start with Detroit.
Yeah, I think we feel pretty good about Fulmer there. Since Soto, for those of you who don't know, is out for the year. He got hit in the hand with a comebacker, and his spin rate was gone pretty much. It seems like because they had Fulmer was their guy before Soto took over, and I think he's gotten the ops since Soto when Soto has been down. So, do you see anybody else there really?
Funkhauser got a save the other day.
I think Fulmer was unavailable though.
Yeah,
right?
So I do think Fulmer was. So I think it's Fulmer, kind of. But they're gonna throw the random guy in there. Like you could see an Alex Lang get a save opportunity, down the stretch. And like, how many save opportunities are really expecting from Detroit? Anyways, I'd rather throw my my hat into a different ring, to be honest. What about Oakland?
Oakland, it looks like Shafin is the guy more or less. I know Romo's gotten some ops. He's been really bad when he has. But I think it's mostly been when Shafin was not available. I don't know if they're pitching him on back-to-back days or not. I'd have to look closer. But, actually, they do pitch him back-to-back, but maybe not 3 in a row. But I think Oakland is going to be in some close games down the stretch, and I'm playing him in a Fantrax league this week. So I felt I had Kitteridge in, and then when he went to the IL, then I grabbed Shafin off of waivers. So I like him enough to play him for 7 games. Because I think he'll get a couple saves.
Yeah, I completely agree. What about Boston?
Boston, we saw Ottavino lose the job, and then it looked like it was Whitlock. And now, if I remember correctly, Whitlock is out, maybe for the
Whitlock,
right?
He got hurt yesterday. I don't know.
And he's been bad.
Here. So he's kind of done. This has the feeling of because Matt Barnes is back now. Garrett Richards has been really good.
Yeah, I think it might be Richards, honestly.
I think it's everybody. I don't think there's a guy. I think they're just going to committee it up. I think Richards is really interesting because he can go multiple innings, which sometimes will work to his benefit and be nice if you pick up some extra strikeouts. but sometimes they may not want him to go multiple innings at the end of the game. They may want him to do it in the 6th, 7th, or 7th, 8th, as opposed to 8th, 9th. So I like.
Kind of reminds me of Ian Kennedy, like late career switch from a starter to a reliever, like a bad starter to a potentially good reliever. So I think they want to see what they have there. You're probably right. They're probably going to spread him around a bit, but if I'm taking a shot on anyone in that pen, it's him.
Yeah, I think I'm taking a shot on anybody. It's Barnes. He was so good at the beginning of the season. He's back healthy now.
Well, we'll see if he's healthy. I haven't seen him pitch, but yeah, he'll be in the picture too.
What about Seattle?
Seattle, I think you were right last week when you said that they wanted to give it back to Castillo. Looking at their usage from over the last week, it definitely looks. And we've seen Sewell and Steckenrider kind of falter recently too. And Castillo's been good, so he's been really good lately. So it does seem likely that they're gonna again, they could spread him around a bit too. They tend to do that, but Castillo feels like the best bet to me right now.
Yeah, I think it's Castillo. I just think that's the guy they traded for. That's the guy they want to be the guy, especially heading into next season. So it'll be interesting to see what they do next season because they also have Ken Giles.
I forgot about that.
Rehabbing from Tommy John, so he could be an interesting guy in your DCs to put a late pick on. Let's see, San Francisco. This is my neck of the woods.
Yeah,
who you got?
Well, I mean, I'm more interested to hear what you think, but
it's Tyler Rogers. It's Tyler.
Oh,
Rogers.
Is it? Really?
Yeah, I think Tyler Rogers is the guy. And I know he struggled. He blew a save the other night, the other day against Atlanta. Where he just left a pitch right in the middle of the fucking heart of the in the ninth, and he got a 3-run blast. Thankfully, they came back and they won that game in extras. But Kepler loves Tyler Rogers. He absolutely loves this dude. It has since the moment he got to San Francisco. He's had just the biggest hard on for this guy. Even when he struggles, he puts him in high leverage responsibilities. It's Tyler Rogers.
Okay. Well, Kepler also loves fucking with people and bullpens. So it would not surprise me if this is just a full-blown committee. I actually really like the idea of picking up Dominic Leone in Fab. I saw him get a save recently, his second one of the year. They've also used him as an opener, though, and I mean, obviously, they like him in higher leverage situations, but I don't know that he would ever be their sole closer here in the last 2 weeks, but his skills are great. So I like him to at least be able to – can we just sign Pablo Sandoval and make him our closer?
Yeah, J-Hook with a great guy right there. Anthony Ghost, baby. Just get Anthony Ghost as your closer because that dude is pumping heat.
Yeah, I mean, both. Pablo Sandoval, is he still on the Indians? No, we released him, right? I think the Indians released Pablo Sandoval.
I think he ended up somewhere though. I cannot remember where.
Oh my god, I don't know why, but I know we just called up Ghost, so he is on our roster somewhere.
Let's see. I guess he didn't. I guess Sandoval never signed anywhere else. Oh, that's a huge bummer. Oh no, he signed with the Giants.
He's just. I mean, he was a role model to overweight mid-30s men everywhere. So, I mean, hey.
I love you, Pablo. What about Baltimore?
Yeah, so just when it looked like they might be transitioning over from Wells to Sulcer, then Sulcer got the save tonight after he had 2 implosions recently. Again, probably a messy situation, and again, probably won't see too many save ops in Baltimore down the stretch anyways. But I don't know. It feels like they might want Wells to be the guy. What do you think?
I don't think there's going to be enough saves to care. Like, I just don't. Like, I just don't want to invest time in Fab or whatever into this situation unless I'm completely desperate. And there's got to be better. I mean, go check and see if your wire has Chris Stratton. Go check and see if your wire has, I'd rather have Dominic Leone, who I don't think will be getting the fair amount of saves, than either of these guys.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't even pick them up in 15-teamers, so that tells you what I think of that situation. But, not every league has guys like Stratton available.
Yeah. What about Tampa?
Yeah, so Tampa, Kitteridge looked like their guy, and then he went to the IL yesterday or today. And then, of course, Dietrich Enns, who just went, got the win earlier in the rotation, and now they used him for 1 out to get the save tonight. So I don't think that makes him their closer. I think that was an emergency situation, but I don't, it's Tampa, and I don't think they're going to have a closer. Like, I think they're just going to use a bunch of different guys. I mean, they got Nick Anderson back there now. They've got Robertson in that pen. They've got Fairbanks. So it could, toss a coin. It could be any of them. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it could be David Robertson's roaming around there. GT Chargois. They've also got Pete Fairbanks, Colin McHugh. Like, it could be anybody. I do not think it's Nick Anderson. Nick Anderson looks atrocious.
Yeah, he doesn't look healthy.
Yeah, he does not look right. I think TJ's coming for Nick Anderson here pretty quick. So, all right, let's talk about some guys who were added in NFBC Fab. Let's start with the hitters. Hunter Dozier, my boy, he finally getting picked back up after people dropped him.
Is this one of your boys? I was unaware.
Yeah, I mean, I love Hunter Dozier.
He is one of the most inconsistent. Like, if you look from year to year, you're just like, what the fuck is this guy? Like, 1 year he's hitting for average, 1 year he hits for power. Like, he can never put it all together. But he has, like, he's interesting because he's like that wild card where you can just kind of, like, you really want to just put him on your team and say, well, let's see what the fuck we have. But he really hasn't been usable at all this year. But then the last, I don't know, week to 10 days, he's really heated up. And I'm not sure if people noticed or not. But then he had a 7-game week away from Kauffman Stadium, which is good, versus Detroit and Cleveland's, Cleveland's mostly shitty rotation and Detroit's completely shitty rotation. Hey, we're not Detroit. Dozier was a good pickup this week. I got him for $1 in my super, and I was very happy about that. And it's already paid dividends with a dong and 4 RBI today. I even played in Yahoo leagues because of the doubleheader, so where I needed more games because I'm not going to hit my game limits for some positions. I threw him in there because I can get 2 games worth in that slot. So yeah, Dozier was a pretty big pickup, hitting .318 with 2 homers. Well, now 3 homers in the last 7 days.
Yeah, I mean, I love Hunter Dozier. He's a StatCast hero. That's what I like to call him. The guy that you go to StatCast page, you go, ooh, this guy could be something, and just injuries have been a big issue for him. And don't forget, like, he got COVID last year too, missed some time with that. So, like, I think maybe he is a post-hype kind of sleeper heading into next season because I'm still a big fan of Dozier.
Like I said, he's got to just take, throw in, and see what you have.
Mm-hmm. What about Nick Gordon?
Yeah, this was a guy that I added in several of my leagues, and I don't know if it's going to end up paying off or not. He's got a lot of speed though, and he's actually kind of a good hitter versus righties. So he's very interesting to me. But the question is how much he's going to play, because he was starting every day while Andrelton Simmons couldn't get into Canada with all of the visa issues or whatever it was. Like, there's a, what do they call it, restrictive list or whatever, when you can't travel. Yeah. And so I'm not sure, but here's the thing. Before that happened, he had started 3 games straight. They kind of play him all over the place as like a super utility player. So I don't know. I feel like the Twins are becoming the Rays. Like, they're just giving everybody rests. So they're playing guys like, 3 out of 4 games, and then they're sitting them. And they have reason to, want to see what they have with Nick Gordon, because what are they playing for this year? He's young. He seems like a viable player, so I picked him up on the hopes that I want to see what he does in these first 3 games, and then if he plays, then maybe I might have 3 scoring periods where I can use him.
I think this is the difference between a guy who we think could be a potential like useful real life player and a potential useful like fantasy player, because I don't think he is going to ever be a real life good player, but like I think he could be an interesting fantasy player, especially if he becomes like their Jonathan VR, where he becomes a Swiss Army knife for them. Not to say that I think a lot of people think that Nick Gordon has a ton of speed because he is D. Gordon's brother. He does not have a ton of speed. He can steal some bases, but this is not a burner. This is not a guy who's ever going to steal 30 bases.
I mean, he scored 40 in AAA in 2019, and he has 24 this year.
That's deceptive. He is not a burner. Go look at his sprint speed and stuff. Like, he is not a burner. You go look at all his prospect write-ups. Not a burner.
Okay. No, never mind. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Yeah, he's not a burner, but I'm just looking for anybody who can give me any kind of steals. Yeah, he's got 15 this year between AAA and the majors. So,
which is fine. I think he could be a 15 stolen base kind of guy.
Yeah.
Which, like, if we're getting him super late in drafts next year, like I said, is a Swiss Army knife, and he can carve out. I think Simmons is on a 1-year deal. Like, he could carve himself out like some pretty regular playing time between shortstop, second base, and maybe some outfield or something like that.
He's just a guy for this year with 2 weeks left that I'm just looking who can get me steals, who's going to be playing a decent amount and isn't absolute trash. So really those are the low bar criteria that I was setting.
Hey, I don't mind absolute trash. I'm just kidding. Gavin Lux, I mean, people dropped him when he went down to the minors, rightfully so.
Yeah,
they're playing some Coors games.
Yeah, they are. They're playing a couple of games in Coors, and unlike Cody Bellinger, who is currently on my bench despite going to Coors. How sad is that? Lux is playing and he's hitting. What else can you ask for? If you need a guy to throw in there in these last 2 weeks, you could do a lot worse. I'm even starting him in a full week league in Yahoo. So, Gavin Lux is someone who I think got overlooked by a lot of people this week.
I love Gavin Lux. I'm not giving up on him. I don't think the Dodgers are either. So I'll be getting a lot of Gavin Lux next year. But I think he's a good guy to kind of pick up and maybe stream this week with Coors starts.
He's going to have great eligibility next year too. I can't remember all of them, but it could be like third base, outfield, and shortstop. I'm thinking, and maybe second too. I don't know, but like he's going to have at least 3 of those positions, I believe, for next year.
He is going to have shortstop and second base. In Yahoo, he may pick up outfield.
How many games is he at right now for outfield?
8.
So he's probably not going to get there. Okay.
Yeah. In Yahoo, you might get there, but not not for NFBC or most leagues. So, Luis Diaz is probably going to play a fair amount with Jesus Aguilar. Is he a guy you were picking up?
Yeah, he was a guy I got in the league as well. He's just a guy who has a lot of power, who's currently hitting the ball because he, for a while he was struggling, but over the last week or so, he's really been hitting the ball better, and he's going to be pretty much in there every day playing. So if you need a first baseman, middle or corner infielder, he would be, and you need power, he's a good target.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a guy that people were pretty stoked about kind of coming into drafts this last year, and then I think Aguilar just kind of, was able to have such a good season and hold him off. So this is a good chance for the Marlins to take a look at him and see whether or not he's part of the future or not as well. Freddie Galvez, he's got 7 games at home.
Yeah, really under the radar. Has hit 444 with a homer, 5 runs, and 4 RBI over the last 7 days. He's been playing every day recently, and this is a guy who has some sneaky power. So I think maybe a lot of people kind of forgot about him. But I was able to add him in I think our tag or main event. I can't remember which, but where you need a middle infielder. 7 games in Philly is pretty damn good, especially considering I believe they're facing the Pirates and another really bad rotation. I want to say Baltimore. Yeah. So you're getting a lot of bad pitchers in a really good park to hit home runs. Always a good thing.
Yeah, they're home versus Baltimore for 3 and Pittsburgh for 4.
Yeah.
So, and then they finish off the season at Atlanta and at Miami.
This is a guy who hit 23 homers in 2019. So, he's got legit power to help you out if that's what you're looking for.
Yep. The Calhoun brothers, Willie and Cole. We talked about Willie. He's playing now pretty close to full time. They do have some lefties, though, coming up, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah, 5 of them. So, and he is very bad versus lefties, so not the best time to play Willie, but I haven't looked at his schedule for next week, but he's definitely someone to keep in mind if he's still available for next week. Cole Calhoun, on the other hand, in the first half of this week got 4 righties, but then they sat today, unfortunately. So, he's only going to get potentially 3. And we were left with the decision of whether to leave him in or play someone else over him. We decided to leave him in, so we'll see if that pays off. But again, just another guy if you're looking for cheap power. It was a good deep league ad.
Let's move on to some pitchers. Corey Kluber at Texas. This is a scary. I mean, like, Kluber's been bad since he returned. So, like, I know at Texas is a really good place. I'm still scared to use him.
Well, he shut down, granted, not exactly a juggernaut, but he shut down the Indians in New York, which I think gave people a lot of confidence. His cutter seemed to be working for him, and if that's the case, then I mean, don't get me wrong, this is not prime Kluber here, but he was the top guy getting added in all of my fab leagues, and I mentioned in our tag team league that you and I are in together. Michael Simeone and Matt Williams dropped $261 on him, inexplicably saving their fab for the final 2 weeks.
For Corey Kluber.
to overbid on Corey Kluber by about $250, but hey, they got their guy. So what are you gonna do? At Texas, coming off the start he just had, I think you have to play him. He's got a pretty good shot at a win there. I'm not expecting anything like ridiculous, but
if you're not playing him now, you're never playing him.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah.
But then he goes to like Toronto the final week, so you're definitely not doing that.
Yeah, no. Brady Singer has a 2-start versus Cleveland, Detroit.
Yeah, he kind of surprised everybody. At least surprised us, because Tony and I were discussing dropping him, and then we realized that he was coming back from COVID for a start on Monday, because we lost our start. He didn't play. He didn't get his start last week, so we were like, oh God, he's getting a 2-start. Okay, so he gets at Cleveland and at Detroit.
Pitched well today at Cleveland.
Yeah, he pitched real well. He always struggles third time through the lineup. So we were a little scared when he because he had a rough inning the first time through the third time through the lineup with the top half of the lineup, the good hitters, and then once he got past them, it was smooth sailing. And he had a complete game, 7 innings in the first game of the doubleheader today, looking pretty good heading into his matchup against Detroit this weekend. So for those of you who were able to get him for his 2-start, congratulations. It's worked out pretty well so far.
He's a guy I'm going to be higher on, I think, than a lot of other people in the industry coming in next year. I like Brady Singer a lot.
Me too. I was a year early on him this year. He's a guy I really, really like. And if he can add a third pitch, I think he can take a massive jump. But even without that, I think he can still be good. He's gotten really unlucky.
All right, some interesting 2-starts. I'm going to throw all 3 of them at you. Josh Rogers at Miami, at Cincinnati. John Lester at the Cubs, at the Brewers. Dylan Peters at Cincinnati, at Philadelphia.
Yeah, these are all, people who are just scooping up these guys and seeing what sticks to the wall, just trying to get wins and Ks down the stretch here. And sometimes you're forced to start some pretty sloppy 2-starts, unfortunately. These ones were kind of like right around the barrier for me. Like, I ended up playing Dylan Peters, unfortunately. I went against my better judgment. I didn't think it was a good play, and I did it anyways because ratios weren't as much of a concern for me there. Josh Rogers, since he gets that Miami start, I feel pretty good about it because Cincinnati doesn't hit lefties all that well, but they are at home, which is always scary against, borderline bad pitchers like Josh Rogers. But John Lester looked really good today against the Brewers. So he got his, I don't remember what number, 200th win, I think it was. And then it's another start against Chicago in the weekend. So if you picked him up, you're feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, Lester is been in the league since 2006. And he got his 200th win. I don't think we're ever going to see another 300-win pitcher again, right?
Probably not with the current way we do things.
Yeah, the way I can't imagine we do. I think Verlander is got the most wins from a starting pitcher. I don't think he's getting the 300 either. So
I don't think
he would need to pitch a lot longer than I think his arm's going to be able to.
Yeah.
I can't wait though to have a conversation with you as the season ends about pitching heading into next season but we're still focusing on this year.
Still focused on
a couple weeks we're gonna have some real interesting conversations.
Okay.
Verlander is going to be part of that because I got some heat for not having Verlander in my top 50.
You can just send those people my way.
Yeah. So, all right. Let's. I'm just going to throw some names at you. You run through them. Chris Bubik at Detroit. Merrill Kelly at Atlanta. Alex Cobb. He has a matchup next week at Texas. Freeland, a matchup next week at Washington. Can't use him this week because either got San Francisco or the Dodgers.
Right, yeah, it's bad. It's bad either way.
Senzatella, same thing.
Two start against the Dodgers and the Giants is a no-fly zone for me. I don't care how good he's been recently.
No. I was in a position where I had to make a decision in a DC where I had to decide between Senzatella or Anthony Bass.
What about Zero? Was Zero an option?
Zero was an option. I chose Anthony Bass.
Good call.
Because I'm not taking 15 earned runs in the second to last week of the season. So
no.
And then Chris Bassett, potentially not going to pitch this week, potentially back next week. Chris Bassett, another guy I'm going to be much higher on in the industry next year as well.
I don't know what's going on with him. I've seen conflicting reports where they're saying he's going to be back this week, but then they're saying he's not going to start Thursday. So I don't know if that means he's starting this weekend or if they're going to hold him out till next week. But regardless, he was a guy that you pretty much picked up this week to play next week. That's what I did anyway. So I'm hoping he gets a Seattle start next week or a 2-start, which is another possibility. But he's just a guy that I'm hoping, because he had a non-arm injury, I'm hoping if he gets built back up, he can actually be pretty effective for a start. Bubich has been pitching better lately, and he gets Detroit, so I'm fine with that. Merrill Kelly at Atlanta, that's like for only the super desperate. I really don't like that start at all. But I did see some people picking him up. Alex Cobb, I think, gets Houston this week, which was an avoid for me, but he does get a matchup at Texas next week, which is absolutely worth picking him up a week early for. And then Freeland and Senzatella, like you mentioned, unusable this week, but Freeland gets Washington next week. Washington's actually been a better offense than people realize recently, but I still think that's a usable matchup. And Senzatella gets Arizona next week, which is very nice. So you could definitely use him next week.
The only thing about Freeland is Washington's been very good against the lefties in particular.
They have. Yeah,
I think I might actually avoid that Freeland start.
I would understand why you would. I think that's a very viable answer.
So, all right, we've got about 7 or 8 minutes left, and I want to run through some of this final fab and roster construction strategy to give people some good ammo to go into the last couple weeks with. Why don't you start breaking some stuff down for me, Fab? Like, what are you doing, Fab? Hopefully people still have money.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully you saved a few dollars. You don't need a lot, but for me, I have between $1 and $3 in all of my leagues, so probably not enough, but enough hopefully to get by. Because most of the bids are going to be $1, $2, maybe $3 on guys. But if you have that money, you can do some interesting things. First of all, my first thing that I would tell you is, you want to plan out, obviously, exactly who you want to play. You need all your pitchers that are currently on your roster, and then you need to see, okay, how many spots do I need to fill, and then fill those slots. All the rest of your bench, other than one extra pitcher, so if you have a 7-man bench, you should have one pitcher, in my opinion, as a backup plan in case something happens right before lineup block or whatever, someone gets hurt, someone goes IL, COVID, whatever. So have that one extra pitcher, and then use the other slots for hitters. Break down the 2 half weeks and plan out who you're going to start in each half. Like, you might have a guy like Cole Calhoun who starts against righties where, okay, he gets 4 righties in the first half of the week, but then the second half of the week he only gets 1 righty. So you have to make sure you have every single position and for both halves are filled with guys who are going to give you playing time, because this is where you can really catch up to people. Because if people are napping and they're not really keeping track of this stuff, you can really add up a lot of at-bats that other people are going to be missing out on. You also want to give yourself options, because when the week starts, you know what you're going for. But then halfway through the week, you could be going for something completely different. Like maybe you were you were going for steals, but now you didn't get the steals that you were planning on getting in the first half of the week. Now you pivot to going for more home runs. Like you want to have the right construction of your bench so that you can put in different types of players who give you different things to kind of cover yourself for those different eventualities so that you can readjust after the first half of the week. You also want to make sure you have a backup of every position. Now, sometimes people forego a backup catcher because the options suck anyways, and like for 3 games, most catchers available are going to play like 1, maybe 2 at most, and probably you're not going to give you much. But if you can afford to have a catcher on your bench, it would of course be useful because, again, you don't know what could happen during the first half of the week. You could lose one of your catchers. Who knows? I also try to avoid players like the non-studs from teams that are clinching and who might rest players. So you're going to want to look into the standings and see which teams are going to be playing their guys every game, those teams that still have something to compete for, and which guys are like they're already cruising because they've made the playoffs or they're going to be making the playoffs early on in the week, and they're going to be resting their guys a lot. So you don't want as many players from those teams if possible. Obviously, you're not going to sit your studs, but you're going to your guys who are your Brandon Nimmo type guys, those type of players, those role players. You're going to want to have backup plans or even replace them going into the final week if possible. I also am constantly looking for news on teams' plans for the rotation, because a lot of times you're going to see them reorder their rotations. You're going to see guys who are going to be shut down early, either because they're rookies or they're returning from injuries, or they're guys who didn't pitch much in 2020, so they just want to limit their pitch count. And then you're also going to have those guys from those playoff teams who they're going to be pitching early the next week in the playoffs, following the last week of the regular season. So they're going to be on like a limited pitch count. And the later in the week that they're scheduled to pitch, the more of a risk they are, because if they're pitching, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they're going to need them. I don't remember when the playoffs start, but it's only a couple of days after the end of the regular season. So they're going to need them fairly shortly after that. So the guys who pitch early in the week are more secure. You don't want to take chances with guys on teams that are already shutting it down early because they've already clinched. When they have late week starts, even Thursday might be a little risky. So always keep an eye on teams' rotation plans, because they'll usually tell you something. They'll say like, okay, he's going to pitch this day, but he'll be limited to 30 pitches or 50 pitches or whatever. So
you may see some of those moves start happening here in the next few days. So
for sure,
definitely keep a track of that.
Yeah, well, we saw Lester get moved up a day to today because he was supposed to originally pitch tomorrow. So you're going to see a lot of this stuff. You just need to really keep track of it and be looking into this stuff like mad, because you don't want to end up taking a 0 in a spot that you really need, and you want to make sure that you're aware of which teams could be doing this stuff. So those are a lot of the things that I do in the final week of Fab in order to give myself the best shot of moving ahead of people, because a lot of movement happens in that last week, because a lot of people, you've been starting the same guys every week. This is an every week starter. Guys like Max Scherzer and whatnot, they could not. I haven't looked at the schedule yet, but he might not get a start in the final week. He might have like a 3 inning tune-up or something to get ready for the playoffs. So you just need to be aware of what you might need to change in your final week in order to avoid taking those zeros where you can't afford to.
Absolutely. I don't have anything else to add, and I do have to get out of here pretty quickly, so I'm just going to kind of move on. There was someone, Chili Con Sammy or Sandal, asked us a question on Twitter, and you answered it.
I did.
But you can answer it for the kind of the greater audience, and I'll give my thoughts. Any thoughts on the 2022 outlooks for Bellinger and Yelich? I'm rostering both in a keeper league. I plan on keeping both, just not feeling great about it right now. Keeper leagues, sometimes you have to kind of hold on to guys a little bit longer than you normally would, just because of the potential upside, or at least the ability to flip them later. And if you drop them or try to sell them now, you're selling them at the low end of their value. I am not going to have them particularly highly ranked. And there's going to be a point in which people start taking them next year, in the 6th or 7th, 8th rounds or something like that, because they're like, well, it's just too good a value to pass up. And while there is some truth to that, at the same time, I'd like to point out the fact that I took Charlie Blackmon, in both of my main events because the value was too good to pass up. And I just did the quick math while we've been talking. If I had taken Cedric Mullins 100 picks higher than his ADP, where I took Charlie Blackmon, I'd have 10 extra standing points in both of my main event leagues.
Oh, wow.
And I can say that because I was high on Cedric Mullins.
Right.
And didn't get him because other people sniped me knowing how high I was on Cedric Mullins. Both of those leagues. So, yes, there's sometimes if you go, hey, this is added value. People are sleeping on this guy because he's been bad the last 2 years. That's good. But only do that with players you actually believe can recoup that value. Because you just don't take name value because it's name value, because then you end up holding the bag at the end of the season with Charlie Blackmon and his 14 home runs or whatever he has.
So what are you doing with those two, with Bellinger and Yelich?
I'm probably not going to draft them nearly as high as other people will.
No, but in a keeper league, let's say you own them. Are you trading them? Or are you holding?
No, you hold and hope to recoup value.
Yeah, and that's so. What I told him was, personally, I would be willing to trade them if I can get 75 cents on the dollar. I don't know that you can get that for either of them right now, though, especially Bellinger, who looks like he completely forgot how to hit. I just
a broken fucking rib.
I know. I mean, hey, I'm sitting him and he's in Coors. What does that tell you? I've never been a Bellinger guy. I've never been high on him. But if you own them, if you can't get fair value, not full value, but fair value. If you can get fair value, take the deal. If you can't, you just have to hold them and hope that they can recoup some value next year. Because they really can't get any worse. What they can do is kind of establish the fact that they might have been massively overvalued before anyway. So I don't know. If you've got them, you got to either get a fair value for them or just hold them.
Yeah. Bill says he thinks like he's damaged goods, and I do kind of feel like that right now. Doesn't mean he can't turn it around. We've seen it, but
no, I mean he's young.
Yeah, he's young and still talented. He's playing decent center field, so I mean, like there's still talent there. That's going to wrap us up for this episode. Unfortunately got to wrap it up quickly. Shout out to our boys at the Triple Fantasy Podcast, the Mendy guys and Cheesecake. Like they had their 100th episode. We were on it together. Go back and watch it. If you're on TikTok, you can go see my TikTok account. I tweeted some videos of us on there. They were absolutely fantastic. Good friends of ours. Good guys in the industry. Congrats.
Love those boys. Yeah. It was one of the most entertaining pod episodes I've been on in a long time. It was a lot of fun.
It was, even though we were only on for 10 minutes.
Everybody was only on. Other than Yancey, who somehow gets on for like 40 minutes, everybody was on for 10.
That's Dave McDonald. I'm Justin Mason. You follow Dave on Twitter at RunDMCD. Don't forget the D. You can follow me on Twitter at Justin Mason FWFB. You can get his work over on Rotosaurus.com, my work at Friends of Fantasy Benefits, TGFBI, and Fangraphs. That is going to wrap us up for this episode. Unfortunately, got to run, but that doesn't mean we don't get the song at the end.
Fun times in Cleveland again. Still Cleveland. Come on down to Cleveland town, everyone. Under construction since 1868. See our river that catches on fire. It's so polluted that all our fish have AIDS. We see the sun almost 3 times a year. This guy has at least 2 DUIs. The flats look like a Scooby-Doo ghost town. Don't slow down in East Cleveland or you'll die. Our economy's based on LeBron James. Buy a house for the price of a VCR. Our main export is crippling depression. We're so retarded that we think this is art. It could be worse though, at least we're not Detroit. We're not Detroit.